Yes, I got really into cooking during the pandemic, a tale as old as time. And I was like, I'm gonna film this and post recipes. And so I started doing that like in 2021. And I had one video that went viral, and it was about opening or how to like de-seed a pomegranate. Then a larger creator, who I will not blast on here, even though I do think he's a piece of shit, stole my content word for word, did not give me credit, did not tag me, got like 65,000 more views than mine did. I commented on underneath the video because somebody who followed me actually saw his video and tagged me and was like, "This seems familiar." And I wrote back, "It certainly does, but we can just say it was parallel thought." And then that motherfucker blocked me.
Damn.
So I wish ill upon him. I wish ill upon his family. I wish ill upon his ancestors, and I hope it brings great shame to the family name.
Hardcore orange, corroded orange, falling apart orange. Justin.
And it was just like no big deal, like sucking dick and cock. I was like, oh my god, time and place. And you did it at my birthday dinner. Geoff! And welcome to Bants!
And Geoff, it's only been a few short days since we had a long conversation about Wuthering Heights.
It's only been a few short days. That's what you just sounded like. You sound like one of those guys who's like hosting some kind of radio show, a shock jock.
I still had my like Timothée Chalamet A24 pitch Zoom call voice going on, so that's why.
Yeah, Chalamet rubbing off on you.
You know. And this is an episode about Marty Supreme, so excited to get into that later and peek behind the curtain. We recorded that episode, or that chunk of the episode, like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, when it was fresh in our minds. But today we're going to talk about some current and contemporaneous, I love that word, hot topics.
We definitely are. Before we get into some hot topics, though, Geoff, we did get an email from a listener that we haven't heard from in a little bit.
Don't even tell me who it is. I think I already know.
I think you do. It's unfortunately Jason. It's Jason. He emailed with a correction because in our episode I don't know how he got to us so quickly. I think he listens as soon as the episodes drops because the episode came out yesterday.
Yeah, he can't get enough of us.
Today, the email's in our inbox. He can't. He's
absolutely obsessed with me.
And he said that in the episode, I said that there has never been a non-white actor in an English language adaptation of Wuthering Heights who has portrayed Heathcliff, which I thought was true at the time. Turns out I was wrong. There is a 2011 film, Wuthering Heights, which is directed by Andrea Arnold, which does feature a mixed race actor, James Howson, playing Heathcliff. So I was wrong. You know, that's a point for Jason, I suppose, and you got to get one every once in a while.
No, we're not giving that motherfucker any points. Forget that dude. I don't like him. You know what, Justin? I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
What's today's date?
I had to look. I don't know. February 18th. It's January 85th.
It does feel that way. But I would like to point out to you, speaking of race, you have not yet wished me a happy Black History Month. And we're more than halfway through the month. In fact, we're about 10 days away from the end of the month.
That's interesting.
You need to do better. You need to do better. You need to hold space for community. Must do better for community. Do you remember when that was like happening? No, because you're not on gay Twitter. Never mind.
I'm not.
That was a niche reference.
I'm not on gay Twitter.
Must do better for community.
Geoff, it's interesting. We've been doing this pod for I think 2 falls now.
Mm-hmm.
And you have never once wished me a happy National Hispanic Heritage Month either. So I think we're kind of even on that front. What do you think?
If you play back the tapes, I know that I talked about this. If you play it back, listeners, go back and listen to any of our September episodes.
We need the streaming counts, actually. So please do go back and
listen. Please do. Please, I'm begging you.
But speaking of Wuthering Heights, Geoff, have your thoughts evolved? Because I feel like
this is crazy. I have written the words evolved and expanded thoughts regarding Wuthering Heights. You stole my words just like you stole Black History Month away from me. This is wild.
I'm not stealing your
You're canceled.
This is
You're
called
canceled.
an outline for a podcast episode, so I'm just going down the list here.
Well, this was my thing to say. People need to know that I'm intelligent too, you know.
Geoff contributes to every episode, listeners. Just for the record, as you hear in every episode.
This sounds like one of those, like, you know, you ever have like a colleague or like a direct report who asks you for like you know, a recommendation, maybe they weren't the best, so you just have to like make broad things, be like, this Justin did contribute to every podcast. You know, you just say like broad strokes things.
Justin technically participated in the recording of the podcast.
Right. That's what that felt like to me.
But this genuinely was your idea, so why don't you take the reins? Go for it.
We recorded the day after I saw Wuthering Heights. A mere 12 hours after I'd finished my consumption of the film.
And if I may summarize, I think your general impression was pretty negative on it in our recording. Is that wrong?
Justin, I don't even think you need me for the pod. I'm going to take off my headphones and let you just do this yourself. You do a different voice for me, maybe. You can practice an accent.
That seems like it'd be a bad idea.
I think it's a bad idea too. I think a good idea is letting a black man finish his thoughts on Black History Month. Don't you agree?
I was just prefacing this conversation by saying, for listeners who maybe didn't listen to the Wuthering Heights episode, maybe they're planning on seeing it, they don't want to get spoiled. Your thoughts were generally negative last week.
They were indeed. But, you know, I feel like I have sat with it, and my thoughts are this. I'm treating Wuthering Heights as its own standalone work, loosely inspired by the book, which I did not read. So I'm going into it now with this mindset of like, it's not a direct adaptation, which I think I don't actually think that's an involved thought. That's just sort of like at baseline where I was with this film.
Right.
But I also feel like the things that I said that I liked about the film were basically the direction and the creative vision of it. And I feel like I can always count on Emerald Fennell to do a film that people want to see. And even if the content of the film, like in this case, isn't great, it's still a spectacle that I think is worth watching. And I think she really delivers on the visuals and the soundscape of this film. Yeah.
I just think genuinely people are not being normal about this movie. I think that it's like very polarizing, and people have either taken the this is in like 5 stars masterpiece side or the like this is absolute garbage side. And I just feel like maybe people, it's not quite as trash as like a Colleen Hoover adaptation, but like people are forgetting a time in cinema history where we used to have like a big romantic drama hit the cinemas pretty regularly, and they were about this quality. And
Titanic.
I think Titanic is a little better than Wuthering Heights personally, but I know that you think it's overrated. 100%. We talked about that on the pod.
Yeah. Still better, but yeah.
I just think that people forget that those things used to come out all the time. And this is like a perfectly fine romance. You know what I mean? If you take it at that level. And I think the genius twist from Emerald Fennell was that it is a adaptation of a very old and well-respected novel that people have strong feelings about. And there is a little bit of that, like, taking it and using it as toilet paper element to it. I think it's like a 7 out of 10, maybe a 6.5 out of 10, you know?
That's interesting. I don't know if I would rate it that high, but what I also want to say is because she has such clear vision and her films are like fun and interesting to watch, I feel like she might be one of our greats right now. I feel like she might be I really do. I feel like she might be one of our greatest directors because she really delivers on the vision.
It's really interesting. It depends on how you define a great director, because let's remember that she also wrote this film. Like she is the soul. No. She's the auteur behind this film.
I did not say she's a good writer. In fact, I believe on the last episode I said I don't think that she's a good writer. I do think she's a great director. I do think that she's a great creative mind.
So can I pitch you an idea here?
You may. I'll allow it.
So what if, this is a crazy thought, this never happens in Hollywood, but what if Emerald Fennell literally works with anyone? What if she works with somebody who writes a film for her and then she directs it? You know, like Yorgos is a great example. I feel like my opinion of a Yorgos Lanthimos film varies widely depending on who the writer is. Like I wasn't as into like Killing of a Sacred Deer, but Poor Things, The Favorite, I loved those more comedic films.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a big possibility here, because you're right that Emerald Fennell does have an eye for like a striking aesthetic. And I
Right.
would be interested to see her work with somebody that maybe has a slightly different approach to writing characters.
Something more developed, something a little more flushed out.
Trying to not be super shady, basically, but I don't think that's her strong suit.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. But you know what? Much like Baz Luhrmann, I feel like I'm never going to be bored. And there's something to be said about that because we have seen a lot of movies that are like of interesting quality, but also boring,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And I just feel like ain't nobody got time for that, Sweet Brown. Whatever happened to Sweet Brown?
I don't know what
She
that is.
inspired like one of the Justin on Black History Month. This is crazy. You're just digging your hand me the shovel, Mary. You're digging your hole deeper and deeper. Sweet Brown, the lady who was interviewed on the news and goes, "Ain't nobody got time for that."
Oh, I know the meme.
Meme queen. Yeah, I just wonder what happened to her. Is she still around? I hope she's well. If anybody out there know about Sweet Brown, let me know how she's doing. Teddy Mom, I said, "Has she doing?" Do you remember that meme?
Yeah, Laura Dern. I'm familiar with her.
Oh my god. Justin, I think it's time to move on to hot topics because you're just absolutely frying my brain right now.
Speaking of frying, Geoff, let's play the sizzle. Okay.
Yes.
So, hot topics.
Well, you know that last year I was saying we need to have the RHONY reboot, the original gangsters. I'm talking Luann, I'm talking Ramona, I'm talking Sonia, I was talking Jill Zarin, and I'm talking Alex McCord and Bethany. I want them, and Dorinda. I want them back on my screen. But what is happening now is that there is a new show that's coming out. It's going to air on E! It is not produced by the same studio that has always done Housewives. Is being produced by a Canadian company called Blink 49 Studios, which is based out of Toronto. And the show is going to be called The Golden Life, and it's going to be a very similar kind of setup or format, I guess you could say, where it basically is just following these women around, and they are now all living for at least a portion of the year in the greater Palm Beach area of Florida.
Of course.
Yes, this show's going to be called The Golden Life. I don't love the name. I get it. It's like Florida's like Golden State, whatever. Or actually, isn't California the Golden State? And Florida's the Sunshine State?
This is a
Do
reference.
we think it's more about their age?
I think, unfortunately,
I don't
for
like
them,
that.
it is. And I also think it has some connotations given the aesthetic of the certain political figures.
Well, you know, here's the thing, too. I don't love that it's like based in Palm Beach because I am feeling like that's Mar-a-Lago and that's Freaktown, USA.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. When I hear the Golden Years and I hear Palm Beach, I'm like, I know exactly what these people are doing.
Yeah, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that. But anyways, so the cast is going to be Luann de Lesseps, Ramona Singer, Kelly Ben Simone, which is interesting. Our friend's brother, who I won't name on the pod, works with her.
Wait, can you tell me?
Yes.
I don't know who she is. I like vaguely, distantly know RHONY folks, but Kelly's the only person I don't know.
Kelly Ben Simone was the one who famously was like on some like bumper scene in season 2, like talking about how she loves to run in the city and it's exhilarating. And she's truly running down the middle of Fifth Avenue and cars are like piling up behind her and honking. And she's just like running fully. This is fully put on for the cameras. And like people are getting annoyed with her, visibly annoyed with her. That tells you pretty much all you need to know about her. But what about Scary Island? Didn't we watch that together with Brandon?
Scary Island? Absolutely
that was season
not.
3. They went to like, I think they went to Turks and Caicos, and Kelly was having like some kind of emotional breakdown. And she was like eating gummy bears and talking about how she lived in a world full of like rainbows and unicorns, and was saying how she felt like Bethany was like attacking her while she was sleeping. It was insanity. She like truly had like a dissociative episode on the show. And Bethany famously screams, "Go to sleep, go to sleep."
Oh, that sounds familiar.
No?
Maybe somebody sent that video.
You've definitely seen it.
But I Googled her, and I've never seen this woman before in my life. She looks a little bit like Olivia Wilde's Wario.
Yes, that's a great way to describe her, actually. She very much is that in every possible way. Also, Sonia Morgan's coming back to the show, and Jill Zarin was going to be on the show, and she got herself into some hot water the night of the Super Bowl because she went on a social media tirade talking about how Bad Bunny's halftime show was the worst one in history. There, quote, was not a single white person on the stage. And also said she didn't recognize Lady Gaga because she's had so much work done and obviously had a facelift. I'd like to say this. Jill Zarin looks like somebody absolutely stepped on the back of her neck and yanked her fucking skin tight as hell. She's doing
looking like Glenn Close in the new Hunger Games trailer.
She absolutely is looking exactly like that. I said, now is this Jill Zarin from Long Island, or am I looking at a half East Asian woman? Because she has tightened her face up so much, she's unrecognizable. She gave herself chins. I mean, she gave herself cheeks.
She gave herself more chins.
No, she took away any double chin she possibly had. She like truly looks absolutely snatched, but to the point of being unrecognizable, you know? And that's tough.
Yeah.
But it is very Palm Beach. She would have fit in great.
Well, exactly. I mean, I have multiple thoughts on this. First of all, I feel like when I am choosing hot tops for the pod, I try to stay away from like negativity, but I will say that this like crash out that many folks leaning right on the political spectrum had over the Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime show,
it's crazy.
Brought joy to my soul, you know, just to watch people
crazy,
have
though.
mental breakdowns about this.
They look so foolish.
Because it's like, try being normal.
Try being my size, Amy. These people are like the people who we now rue and, you know, have utter disdain for. Like when you look back at like images of like the Little Rock Nine walking into their newly integrated school system, and all these angry white people are foaming at the mouth and screaming about how that's going to bring like destruction to America. Like that's essentially what these people were doing. We just have social media now, so we saw more of it.
Yeah. And this is the thing about social media. Everybody's got to stop posting. And I've been telling all my friends this. Everyone, we don't have to post. No one's asking you to post. Nobody cares. If you're a celebrity, let's say you're Jill Zarin, only post when somebody pays you to post. Otherwise, why are you posting? Nobody actually has to post. We lived as a society for so long without any posts.
There's also like a delight of just like being a lurker on social media, you know? I would say I'm broadly a lurker, especially for like Maine.
Yeah.
You know, I never post anything on Grid. Everything I post is like a story.
Oh, you have a Finsta?
I don't have a Finsta, but I just like don't really post very much. And when I do, it's to my story, and it's usually just like a political thing. Or it's like promo for the pod, and that's it. I like almost never post to Maine. But these people, it's like every thought. We're not meant to know what everyone is thinking at all times.
I did have a period of time where I used Twitter as like not a diary. I was never like a multiple tweets a day person, but I did use Twitter pretty heavily during like, I would say 2012 to like maybe 2021. And then I think around that time I stopped. And now it's private. So if you're not in, you're not going to get in to my Twitter account. So sorry, haters.
Exclusive. Justin said that's behind my Patreon paywall.
Legitimately. Hey, if we get popular enough, we make that Patreon, I'll open it back
up. It could happen.
If you're paying
it could happen. Listen, this is the other thing too. Remember when everybody was so into Twitter and everyone, including me, was like, I'm going to become a comedian. And we started using Twitter as like a place to post our now cringe jokes.
Listen, I think that my Twitter was actually pretty good. I think I had a couple of bangers on there. I did have a couple of viral moments on Twitter. But you know about this. Am I about to tell you this for the first time, or at least the first time in your memory?
It will absolutely be the first time in my memory.
Okay, well, there was one time that I posted a tweet that got pulled by Rose Twitter. And by Rose Twitter, we're talking Democratic Socialist Twitter. You familiar with people that have the rose emoji in their bio or in their handle?
Absolutely
It's like
not.
the symbol of democratic socialism.
Nope.
Okay. Well, I got picked up by that circle of Twitter, and not long afterwards, AOC retweeted my tweet.
Oh, wait, I did remember that.
Yes.
Yes, that's so true.
And this brought me quite a few followers at the time, and I was like, oh, shit, now I'm going to be like a comedy academia Twitter account. Let's go. And that quickly floundered.
And that's tough.
I did have a moment there where I thought it could happen, but I just didn't have the juice, and that's okay. And now I'm like anti-posting. No more posting.
I totally understand. Do you remember when I was doing Chef Geoff on TikTok?
Oh, do I? We've made multiple references obliquely to that, but just for the listeners, so just so that in case you are not aware of Chef Geoff, Geoff did have a short career as a TikToker who made food-focused content.
Yes, I got really into cooking during the pandemic, a tale as old as time. And I was like, I'm going to film this and post recipes. And so I started doing that like in 2021. And I had one video that went viral, and it was about opening or how to like de-seed a pomegranate. Then a larger creator, who I will not blast on here, even though I do think he's a piece of shit, stole my content word for word, did not give me credit, did not tag me, got like 65,000 more views than mine did. I commented on underneath the video because somebody who followed me actually saw his video and tagged me and was like, "This seems familiar." And I wrote back, "It certainly does, but we can just say it was parallel thought." And then that motherfucker blocked me.
Damn.
So I wish ill upon him. I wish ill upon his family. I wish ill upon his ancestors, and I hope it brings great shame to the family name.
Okay, well, to bring it full circle back to Jill Zarin and this like pseudo RHONY reboot, when does this air, and are you excited for this? Or are you going to avoid this? Like, what's your take?
Okay, the thing is, the setting of it being in Palm Beach is really tough for me, especially when I know Ramona is like a MAGA person. And I think that Kelly likely is. And I feel like Luann and Sonia are just more obsessed with being on television and getting money from it than they are about any kind of morality. So I feel like it's going to be disappointing. I will watch it because I do love Dorinda, who is an outspoken democratic socialist. And, you know, there's something about these women. These women raised me in many ways. I really learned about like having difficult conversation and conflict resolution from this show. Sometimes, you know, lessons to emulate, and other times of like, this is what you don't do, which is just as important.
I was going to say, is that something that you should be learning from? I've always said, I think I said this on our reality TV episode, I feel like half of the art, if not like, honestly, like 90% of the entertainment value of reality TV comes from the edit.
100%.
Like the editors in those shows, they're the real heroes. Like, I feel like we should be crediting them first in the credits. So I do wonder like how much the creative team at the original like Housewives creative studio, or I don't even know. That would be a great like documentary thing to look into, is like how they maintain their talent, mentorship, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I wonder how much of that is carried on to this new studio, which is like, you said this is going to be on E, not on Bravo.
Right.
And it's going to be produced by a totally different production house. So I do wonder like if the quality can maintain the same level that it was like in the original RHONY. But I guess there's like enough reality TV editors to go around at this point.
I think that there is no shortage of them. However, I do think what they have a difficult job of doing is like every studio wants to make their own mark and have like a distinctive editing style. However, the audience that is going to tune in for this is not like new people. They're playing their greatest hits tour. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people are who are already in the bag.
Right. And so like I'm going to expect this show to be edited the way that the original RHONY was. And if it's not, I think it's going to really tonally change the show. And I don't think that that would be for the viewers' benefit, and I certainly don't think it's for the studio's benefit if they don't just emulate or bring on some of the same people.
Well, there's a rich text there. There's a lot for them to learn from when it comes to that. There's how many episodes? I mean, there's an insane number of hours of that content.
I think like the original run of RHONY before the kind of failed reboot that they did a couple years ago, I think that was 14 seasons. And I think most of them have 21 or 22 episodes if you include the reunions. So it's a lot. It's a lot on there. And you know, us RHONY girls, the OGs, we ride hard. And so like I want to see these women on my screen, but under certain conditions.
Okay, well, let's move on to our next hot topic here.
Yes.
And I know about this one, all right? I predicted that this one may be on the list because you did text me and ask me for my Netflix password. Actually, Netflix, if you're listening, I was home traveling, and Geoff and I both watched this together. So Geoff, why don't you describe? Yeah.
Well, Justin, just because, you know, I don't want to put it on you to describe this, I will tell you all about the documentary we watched together.
Thank you.
The documentary Reality Check Inside America's Next Top Model came out on Netflix and is going viral. And this is a documentary that talks about the creation of what I can only describe as a pop cultural phenomenon that like came out in the early 2000s, America's Next Top Model. It aired on UPN, which was like a network that had like no real hits to speak of. And this show really put them on the map. And then they became like a channel that owned by Viacom that became like a renewed area of focus for them. And they made a lot of great television shows afterwards based on the success that they got from the viewership of America's Next Top Model. They were pulling in 100 million viewers worldwide each week with America's Next Top Model and the other country's top model television show. That's crazy. That's really big, even for that time.
Yeah. So you're saying throughout the franchise, like the franchise combined was getting
multiple
that type
franchises.
of viewership. Okay.
Yeah, 100 million viewers a week. That's a lot.
That's wild.
So basically, Ken Mock, who kind of created the original reality TV format, partnered with Tyra Banks to shop this around. They went to every major network. Nobody was interested. UPN was like, we'll take a chance on it. You have like 2 weeks to film it, and it's basically going to take place in a hotel suite. That is where they had all the models live. They did nationwide casting call. And like, this show just became a phenomenon. I think there were so many people our age who were fascinated with the idea of becoming a model or just like interested in the industry because of this television show. And then the many spinoffs that inspired. But this show during COVID got a lot of viewership because there were seriously like 23, I think, or 24 seasons to watch. And so people just went on absolute binges of it. And people were like, oh my God, looking through the lens of this show in the 2020s, there's a lack of representation and body diversity. There are really problematic photo shoots where people are doing blackface or brown face, yellow face. There are episodes where people's privacy is being invaded. There are sexual assault allegations that are covered up. So, we were due for a documentary of this kind to do like an inside look and peek behind the curtain with the people who were there making the show about the top model like frenzy. What's interesting about this documentary is people have been saying for like a year since we learned this was being produced, like Tyra Banks and all these other people have a lot to answer for. Tyra Banks answered for absolutely nothing in this documentary. She took no responsibility. She kept being like, well, I wasn't in the editing room, so I wasn't responsible for that choice. Or I wasn't a producer at that time, so I didn't make those decisions to show this girl aiding and abetting an eating disorder. I didn't make the choice to show this girl being basically sexually assaulted on camera. Like, she was kind of like, that was above my pay grade. I was there to be the host and to inspire the girls. And she's like, and you know what? We kept pushing things and doing these outrageous photo shoots. There was a photo shoot where they had people pretend to be homeless. There was times when God. Tyra Banks was like trying to like trick them into, she was doing full on theater camp. Like, she was like acting like she was ill and passing out in front of them, causing panic. It was crazy. And she's like, yeah, well, you guys loved it. She's like, the viewers loved what we were doing, so I just kept pushing it, and so did all the producers. And she's like, if you guys had a problem with it, you would have told us to stop. And I'm like, girl, we all know that's not how TV works. And I think we can just say stuff from back then was in a different era. And looking through today's lens, like, obviously there's stuff that is like rough and should not have happened.
Yeah. I mean, even outside of like cultural changes, like when it comes to like cultural appropriation, and you mentioned the photo shoot where people pretended to be or were acting like they were homeless or unhomed.
Yeah.
Like that stuff that it's like in hindsight horrible, but like, during the time there was a lot of that going on. I feel like I've heard a lot about like actual like potentially alleged abuse, I guess I should say, like on the set from this documentary as well. There's a difference there. Like, I guess everybody's line is slightly different in terms of like what constitutes like a cultural change versus what is like just bad, I don't know. Violence, in my opinion, is something where it's like no matter what era it's taking place in, like that is still going to be, it may not have been frowned upon quite as much in the past, but like whatever the era, it's like unforgivable. I haven't seen the documentary.
I was just gonna ask,
but it does make me wonder like about these eras of reality television, because I mean, early Survivor, there was somebody almost died falling into a fire. We've had even very recent controversies about, was it Love Island, I believe, where there was like allegations of sexual assault. I can't remember how that panned out. Even like I've heard some stuff about, and I know everybody loves traders. You know what I mean? I know that everybody loves traders. One of our favorites, one of the housewives, Dorinda, is on Traders this season. So, a lot of good people who we like on there. But, there's people who left Traders early, no spoilers, but like people who left Traders early who are talking about the experience, and they're like, yeah, it was, they were starving us. Like, we had very little food or water. And it's like a very high pressure, like pressure cooker environment. And like, it's almost unfair for us to be against like housewives in that situation, and in the show, they call them gamers, people who have experience in similar political game shows like Survivor and stuff. It's almost unfair to have like normal celebrities against these like pros. It's almost, it is like a real skill set that you develop over time. And I guess like the ethics of that, I think, is still very much up for debate. Some of that may, depending on your perspective, edge into like abuse or
edge.
You do love to talk about edging, Geoff. That's true.
Wait, we have to talk about this though.
Sure.
This was one of the most shocking parts of the documentary. So there were like 3 people on the show who, along with Tyra, I think really shaped the way that the creative direction went and the way the challenges went and just the format of the show. Those 3 people were Nigel Barker, who is a former model / turned like world-renowned photographer. Miss J, who is like a coach to generations of supermodels for how to like improve their model walks. And then Jay Emanuel, who was responsible for like the creative direction of America's Next Top Model. These 3 men who like helped Tyra Banks build this show and become an absolute behemoth and like money machine, she like fired them under pressure from the network, basically cold shouldered them all, and like had not spoken to them since she fired them, like out of the blue with no warning. And so the 3 of them are interviewed in this documentary all independently, but then the 3 of them get together afterwards at the very end of the documentary and like have their first reunion in a number of years. Miss J very sadly had a stroke and is paralyzed from the waist down, and is also in the process of relearning how to speak. And so a lot of the things that he had to say were a little bit stifled or took him a long time to get to his point. It was really sad to see because he was like he was the backbone of the show and like the glue that held the team together. But he also revealed that Tyra Banks has not visited him since his stroke.
Wow.
And that she like sent him a text and was like, "Hope you're well." And that was like the extent of their outreach. Pretty crazy.
Damn.
Have you seen anything about Tyra Banks lately in the news though?
Just people being like she should be in prison. That's like that's the type of stuff that I've seen. Like, I haven't seen like any specific allegations or anything else in the news.
Right.
I've heard that she's basically said like, oh, it's all good. The like everybody was eating it up. So why are you criticizing me now for what was popular in the moment, and kind of offsetting the blame onto the audience, I think is, listen, I think that there is an interesting conversation to be had about like the ethics of consuming stuff that 100%. Is clearly problematic. Like, don't get me wrong about that.
Yeah, definitely.
But also like the diehard capitalist mindset of like, listen, if it makes money, I don't care how problematic it is, I'm going to do it. Like, that is worse. Unambiguously is worse, So I think that that's like a really bad tack to take here, as opposed to apologizing. I don't know. It feels tough to me.
It is tough. Well, she has opened up an ice cream shop in Australia where she's been living for the last 3 years. And she's just been like posting absolutely unhinged social media stuff about the ice cream shop and about her life in Australia. Tyra was always a little nuts, but I'm like, I think that she might be like Kanye level, like unwell.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You
should take a look at some of the stuff. I invoke the K word.
Damn. Well, that's a bummer.
And you did it at my birthday.
Shall we move on to something that's not as much of a bummer? Something that I think is even quite exciting, quite wholesome.
Yes.
And inspiring.
Well, we'll talk about Alysa Liu, who retired from figure skating at the age of, I think she was 21. I want to say she was 21, and is back this year competing in the Winter Olympics. And she has become like I don't know, what's the word, dynamo maybe, of this year's Olympics, because she was like out of the game, was like, hey, I did the Olympics, I did my thing, I'm still young, I have to build like a career with longevity.
Mhm.
And so she took a break, retired from doing this, and then just like 2 years ago was like, you know what? I think I still have the energy and like the chutzpah for this. I'm gonna go for it and try to qualify for the Olympics again. She did, and she's also become like a darling very quickly because she is like now truly into the range after her short program, which happened I think yesterday or the day before.
Mhm.
And she is now possibly going to medal again in the Olympics after like a 2 year break of like basically not doing anything. It's pretty
Damn.
crazy. Very impressive.
That's awesome.
She's also very young. I think she's like 23. I want to say she's 23. And she has like a delightful aesthetic. She has like dark brown, black hair, and she like has bleached it in this very interesting way. It's like stripes.
Mm.
And it is like taking off, and people are emulating this look on social media. And she also pierced her frenulum on social media right before the Olympics, which is like something that's generally not done because, as we talked about last pod, the world of figure skating is still like pretty conservative. And so she's out here rocking like very bold stylistic choices that I think are really cool and refreshing. And she's like, kind of like giving the industry like a middle finger, being like, I don't have to conform to your standards of what's expected and what's proper form to compete and work my ass off and do a great job.
Yeah, so I did Google her, and well, I'm looking at her Wikipedia page now, and this is a great like partner or sequel to your conversation or your thought about the way that figure skaters are dressed in last week's episode, because her hair is really unconventional, and the frenulum piercing is also very unconventional. I think she looks great. I mean,
I love it.
Why not go crazy with it? Because I feel like figure skating is like a very stylish and flamboyant sport in and of itself. I feel like do whatever you got to do to feel confident, and I think it's great that she's decided to do something that's a little bit out of the box. So wishing her the best. Yeah, I hope that she gets a medal. Yeah.
I'm loving all this anime hair. They're really doing it up this year.
Pretty cool. Pretty
Team
sick.
USA ice skating. Love it.
What's up, y'all? Editor Justin here. Between the time that we recorded this episode and its release, Alysa Liu actually won the gold medal in the free skate. So this is the first American woman to win an individual medal since 2006. And I should also mention that she is my hero. So let's get back to the show. Okay, well, I have an update that doesn't have to do with the Olympics, but I'm so excited for.
Okay, let's hear about it.
So, Geoff, you may remember my favorite movie of 2024 was I Saw the TV Glow.
I Saw the TV Glow. Who could forget?
This was a film directed by Jane Schoenbrun. It was a horror film, very cool, very much about the trans experience.
And that was their debut, right?
Well, no, it wasn't their debut. It was their second film. And Jane has since announced teenage sex and death at Camp Miasma, which, I mean, come on.
What a great name.
What a slasher name, right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you about the cast of this film, Geoff, because I can't even get over the stacked cast that is in this movie.
Are you dying for it?
So Hannah Einbinder,
ooh,
who we love.
Love Hannah.
Gillian Anderson of X-Files fame.
Oh my God. Oh, and Sex Education.
I'm seeing
a theme. I'm seeing Gillian.
They're the two leads of the film. And I gotta say, like, Jane, immaculate taste. These are two of the most beautiful women working right now. I'm personally very excited.
Okay. Horny on Maine.
I am about these two actresses. Supporting roles from pod faves, Eva Victor, who was recently last year in the film Sorry Baby, which was their directorial debut, and was an incredible film that I didn't get a chance to talk about on the pod. Zach Cherry, who was a standout on Severance.
Yep, love him.
Sarah Sherman, who was on SNL.
Oh, I love Sarah Sherman. I think she's great. Sarah Squirm.
Jasmine Savoy Brown, who is on Yellow Jackets and has been in the rebooted Scream films.
I'm trying to remember who she is. What character did she play?
In the future timeline, she's the lawyer, or the politician, who is also a lawyer.
Oh,
she's like running for office in season 1. Yeah, she's the younger version of the politician.
Got it. Okay.
And then Jack Haven, who was in Atypical and was the star of I Saw the TV Glow. So, yeah, there is a bit of a theme here. We got a lot of gender nonconforming folks in this cast, which I think is very cool. And according to Schoenbrun, they did give an interview about the film a while ago, and they said it's all about sex, essentially a movie about learning to enjoy sex after transition. And I think this is like really interesting thematically, because slashers as a genre are all about sex and moralizing sex.
Yeah.
And I'm so curious to see what Jane does with that subject matter. I think that I Saw the TV Glow took a lot of the tropes of like teen supernatural fiction like Buffy and like Twin Peaks and twisted that into a trans narrative. So I feel like this has all of the makings of like a really incredible film. And have you seen the trailer? It's more of a teaser, I guess, than a trailer. It's basically just opening credits. The vibes are off the charts.
I'm going to watch it right now.
It's like a tube TV. The stars are shown in different fonts and the music is incredible. It's being produced by Mubi. It feels like you rented a VHS at a Blockbuster.
We have to talk about the name Mubi. We have to talk about it because there's a film that I want to watch that I saw the trailer for on my Roku TV. It said playing now on Mubi, and I paused it and was like, Mubi? I thought there was Tubi, and there is a Tubi, and that's like different the one that has like a lot of like the black films, like Tyler Perry films on it that are really bad quality. You know, these names are getting cuckoo crazy. We got Hulu, Tubi, Mubi.
So Mubi, okay, can't speak to Tubi. That one, I think you got to workshop that.
Mubi sounds kind of like movie.
Well, I think that's the intention. So Mubi originated as like a almost like Criterion Collection-esque like prestige streaming service.
Okay.
And then they moved into producing movies. Actually, their big awards movie was The Substance. So that was like their first big movie that got a lot of traction.
Oh ho. Okay.
Ever since then, they've been acquiring movies out of festivals. This movie had not been made, and Jane just did so incredible with I Saw the TV Glow. The movie was like, we're throwing money at it.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I think that they're really trying to become the new A24 or Neon here.
Very fascinating. I wish them well, just like Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, the vibes are insane on this one. It's coming out August 7th.
It looks fun. It looks very it reminds me of like the original Halloween trailer.
Exactly. It is definitely pulling from those classic slashers, and I'm so curious to see what they end up doing with it. Yeah.
I like this other quote that Jane Schoenbrun said, which I find very interesting. I had plenty of desire, but having good sex in the wrong body was impossible. What a fascinating concept.
Yeah.
I think it's worth exploring, and so I'm glad that they're taking it on in this upcoming film.
I would love to do an episode about it, but I know that you're a little scaredy pants.
Listen, Justin, if you watch it with me, I won't be scared.
Okay, it's a date. It's a date. We're doing it.
I'm trying to convince myself that that's the truth.
Okay. I believe in you.
Okay, good.
All right. Well, with that, Geoff, let's take a quick break and we'll move on to another film, Marty Supreme.
I can't wait. And Justin, I'm feeling orange right now. I don't know about you.
Falling apart orange.
Corroded orange. We'll be right back. And we're back.
Geoff, we're so back.
And Justin, we're so ready to talk about a little film we saw a few weeks ago, braving one of the first snowstorms of the season.
Marty Supreme, Christmas Day.
That sounded just like him. That was great delivery. Justin, you should be Marty Supreme for Halloween.
What would that... I would have to grow out my like shitty mustache.
Yeah, grow out your shitty mustache and bring a ping pong ball.
Wireframe glasses. Yep. Yeah, just a ping pong ball. It would have to be an orange ping pong ball.
Of course. Right? No other color.
Yeah. Maybe just like, maybe the wife beater.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You could wear that. Justin, they're called A shirts now. You are so canceled. You do it to yourself. All these dated references. Just casually talking about beating women.
Sometimes I'm unk, you know what I mean? Sometimes I'm just unk.
Justin said sometimes it's okay to just beat women.
I definitely didn't say that.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Excuse me, I'm calling the authorities.
Je téléphone la police.
Okay, but we are here to talk about Marty Supreme, which I do have to say is maybe like one of the more polarizing films that's happening in this Oscar season.
I would agree.
So for listeners that live under a rock, this is the newest film from Josh Safdie. It stars Timothée Chalamet, Odessa Azion, Gwyneth Paltrow, Tyler Okonma, aka Tyler the Creator, Kevin O'Leary, and pod fave, Fran Drescher.
Yes.
This film is set in 1950s New York, and Timmy C plays Marty Mauser, who is based on the real-life table tennis player Marty Reisman, an up-and-coming ping pong player on a quest to become the world champion. So this film actually came out a while ago now. It was released on Christmas Day in the US. The film has grossed $120 million.
Not bad.
So this is the highest grossing A24 film domestically. And it sits at number 3, just behind Everything Everywhere All at Once and Civil War internationally. So this, by all accounts, has been like a huge success for A24.
Mm-hmm.
I think largely in part to the campaign that has been run, the advertising campaign and the award campaign that has been run by A24 and Timothée Chalamet, who has been pounding the pavement promoting this film and largely in character as Marty.
Yeah, that has been interesting to see.
Yeah, do you want to, maybe before we get into the movie itself, how did you feel about like the Timothée Chalamet great actor promo of it all leading up to this film?
I kind of liked how bold he was being. He was just basically like, hey, this is going to be a great film and I'm great in it and I want to win all the statues for it.
Yeah.
Like, and it was funny because he was doing this with extreme confidence, just like his character is in the film, which we later learned.
Right. It is a little bit like method-y of him, right? It reminds me of like the Joaquin Phoenix, like I'm still here, you know, rollout, although much more successful and less controversial than that.
Right. I think Joaquin was maybe one of the first people to really do that in the mainstream.
Nobody really knew at that time whether it was like a bit. And I think what is interesting about Marty and Timmy here and Timmy's campaign is that there is a piece of Timothée that is like that, right? Like we've seen that he's a hustler, right? Like he's very ambitious. He was also, you know, pounding the pavement for his role as Bob Dylan in A Complete Unknown last year at the Oscars, right? Like he clearly wants to be seen as the greatest actor of his generation, and he's not really shy about letting other people know it.
Yeah.
And that's great casting. You know, that's just great casting. I'm not sure if this film was written for Timothée Chalamet or if he was cast in the role like after it was written.
Yeah, that's a good question, actually.
It feels like it was written for Timothée Chalamet.
Well, he certainly has like made it his own thing, you know, even if it wasn't written for him.
The poster is literally just big old picture of Timothée Chalamet's face, right?
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I do think it's his perfect film. We do both think this is going to be his Oscar film.
Yeah.
There has been, I think, a little bit of a change in tone in that promotion.
Oh, well, yeah.
And we talked about this a little bit when he won the Golden Globe, right? Because he did win the Golden Globe.
Right.
He gave a much more muted speech where he thanked a lot of other people. And I think he said, seemingly in response to a lot of the discourse about Marty Supreme, he was like, Josh Safdie wrote a movie about a guy that's not judgmental. It's just depicts what he does and, you know, doesn't say one way or the other whether it's bad or good. And he thanked a lot of his collaborators and his fellow nominees. Very different than many of the other speeches that he had been giving in the awards lead up before that.
Yeah, which makes sense because like once you're in that room, you can't be still doing that character. You have to like humble yourself a bit and like, you know, be sincere because you said that you wanted this.
I think it's because he knows he's in the lead. And I also think it's interesting from a method perspective because he shaved his head or he buzzed his hair for his role in Dune 3. And Dune is famously, you know, a series that is very critical of heroes and, you know, the heroic story.
Oh, yeah. You were saying this last time, I think.
That's kind of like the whole point of Dune, right? Like of Dune Part 2 is like, damn, maybe we should be skeptical of these like savior narratives.
Sure.
And these great man narratives. It's interesting to see Timmy as he's filming this role as Paul Atreides in Dune 3 kind of adopt a little bit more of that philosophy. And I wonder how much of that is like calculated, you know, I don't want to piss anybody off just before the Oscars and lose my chance at this award. And how much of it is like, you know, he's incorporating the philosophy of the films that he's been making. You know, it's interesting as an observer. He's a great movie star for that reason.
Damn. Paul Atreides, great drag name. Please welcome to the stage, Paul Atreides. I think it's a good one. Put that up on the drag name count.
I think it's great. Yeah, this isn't the first time you've pitched it, I think.
Oh, it's not? Okay. Sometimes I'm just so hilarious. I can't remember what I've said because I was laughing so hard to myself, you know?
Happens all the time. It's like watching 30 Rock. You're laughing so hard from the first joke, you don't remember the second joke.
That's exactly right.
Okay, let's get into our overall thoughts on the film.
Let's.
Geoff,
okay.
What'd you think of Marty Supreme, high level?
Well, Justin, I am sad to tell you I did not very much enjoy my viewing experience of Marty Supreme.
Damn. Well, tell me why.
Because they triggered a real anxiety response in me, which I do believe was intentional. And I don't like feeling that way. I take medicine to help me not feel that way. And so it was tough for me to be trapped in the theater where I like had to like bear witness to this and and be made to feel anxious for almost its entire run. There were elements of it that I enjoyed, but overall I'd say made me too anxious. But how
Can I
about
ask you, well, really quick before I move on from
Yeah.
your perspective, because I am curious, like, what made you anxious? Was it the style of the filmmaking? Was it the
Yes.
character? Like,
It was the style of the filmmaking. It was Marty, and I forget what was Odessa Zion's character's name, but it was like watching so many characters in this movie make the wrong choice, and like because you know who they are like right off the bat, there isn't a ton of discovery of people in this film. People are pretty much like how they are at face value is how they are. There's not like deception. There is not like a ton of character development. People are how they are, like when they first appear on the screen, which was something that is different than a lot of films and definitely different than TV.
yeah.
I just felt like I knew right away. I'm like, they're going to react poorly and they're probably going to do this. And then they would do those bad things. And I'm like, guys, you got to get it together. But also the shaky camera of it all.
Lots of handheld.
The camera never settling. Yeah, the handheld nature of it made it feel unsettled. It almost felt like the way that they filmed was almost like the handheld sitcoms that they've done, like in The Office or on 30 Rock, a lot of the or Parks and Rec. A lot of those scenes, especially when there's like multiple characters and chaos is building, would be shot with that versus the steady cam, because it makes it feel unsettled and you're just kind of like whipping between people. And I didn't like the handheld nature of this film because I never felt settled and calm because of that.
Yeah, interesting. That is absolutely true. I guess, yeah, this is a taste thing. Okay, first of all, Odessa Zion's character is named Rachel. So just a heads up on that one.
Rachel, show me to me, please. Come on, baby.
So I really liked this movie, with a caveat that is pretty spoilery that I think we will get into when we hit our spoiler section here. But I think that a big reason why this film has been so polarizing is just because of expectations in a lot of ways. This is a film from the same filmmaker that made Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems. Yeah.
I actually haven't seen Uncut Gems, but I know from reputation what the vibe of that film is, right? It is a anxiety-ridden kind of like spiraling the drain type film.
Right.
It's a slow motion train wreck and you can't help but watch, basically. Some people really enjoyed it. Some people found it completely impossible to watch because it was just too anxiety inducing. So when I saw that same filmmaker was making a ping pong movie starring Timothée Chalamet, my thought was not, oh, this is going to be a heartwarming sports drama.
Right, no.
Well, what I will say is
you
that
think a lot of people felt that way, though?
I do think that, because Brandy, after we walked out of Marty Supreme, said, I didn't know that it was going to be like that. Like, I thought it was just going to be a sports drama starring Timmy C, you know, and Timmy has like his own fan base at this point.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I do think that part of it is like expectation.
Sure.
I also think part of it is just like filmmaking style, because I do think that the Safdie brothers, which they split up after making Uncut Gems, but this is Josh Safdie's first solo film. They have a very distinctive, hyper, like super fast thrill ride style of filmmaking.
Thrill ride, great term.
And for me, I found it so thrilling. I think when we talked with Claire, you were talking about how I was sitting in the theater. I was literally on the edge of my seat.
You really were.
Watching it. I mean, there is a scene involving a bathtub in this movie that made me audibly gasp.
That was insane.
Maybe the craziest moment in a film that I've seen in a minute since like maybe Hereditary or something.
That I did not expect.
You're right that like character-wise, I think another big part of the discourse is like Marty's a bad person. He's kind of a jerk. He's a grifter. And that's kind of what the thematic point of the movie is how far does this grift get you? And I think it's very important that it's set in the 1950s, which is an era of, it's a post-World War II era, American dominance. Marty is an American Jew. He makes like a Holocaust joke in the movie, kind of just for laughs and for power purposes, right? He's trying to he's peacocking, essentially, trying to make himself seem bigger than he is. And I think a big thesis that the movie tries to get across is the American desire to just like hustle your way to the top,
right? The
Grindset of it all, and how empty that is ultimately. Without spoiling the final shot of the film, the movie does not come down on whether or not Marty sees the emptiness or whether or not he's going to continue hustling, I think. And I think that's another point that people don't like about the film. people don't think that Marty necessarily learned anything from his experiences. And I think that is like a little bit of a subjective thing. Some people may think that he has learned and he has changed, but I do think that a lot of people think that he didn't. And I think people struggle with unlikable main characters.
I mean, I agree with that. I don't really think that he's like now a changed person because of what transpires in the last scene of the movie. I think he's just like, oh, wow, this is just another element to my life. But I don't think he's like, I'm changed now. He's not been changed for good.
Can we talk a little bit about the performances?
About Wicked? Oh, okay, sure.
Timothée Chalamet, we've talked around it a lot, but his performance in this movie is insane.
He's so good.
He's insanely good. He embodies the character.
Right.
The movie's on his back.
He really disappears into the role.
The energy that he provides here is like incredible. I always think about the scene. I think it's the same scene as the Holocaust joke where he's like eating dinner with like a bunch of ping pong guys, and he's like making a joke, and he like slumps back in his chair. Like, you can tell that the character is acting, but also just like the energy and the emphasis that Timmy places as a real life actor into that moment is like very endearing and it's just impressive. You know, he has charisma.
He does. And I think his charisma like is the only thing for me that was keeping me engaged with the movie, because I was like, this is so bad. And almost all these people are bad and detestable too.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think that like Timmy's charisma is part of the reason why he was cast. I think that like the rush of being a part of this like grift, of this like endless chase, this endless ambition, the seduction of that is like another point of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
All of the characters in his orbit are like drawn into him, whether they be Rachel, portrayed by Odessa Azion, right? She wants to be near him because he is like this black hole of energy.
He's exciting.
Gwyneth Paltrow's character, Kay Stone, who is like a very successful actor, but older.
Yeah.
She wants that excitement in her life. Like, she wants that. She craves that ambition and that energy, and she's drawn in by him. I mean, Tyler, the Creator's character, who is like a family man, he wants in on the hustle.
Yeah.
The sexiness of the hustle and the Grindset, I think is a thematic point of the film.
Totally.
And I think like the degree that you are kind of like in love with that, even if you know it may be a bad thing, I think may also determine your enjoyment of the film.
I agree.
Because I think when we talked about this like kind of obliquely with Claire, I think I said something like Timmy C is like lovable in this movie. And she was like, I don't think so. I think he's like I thought he was like detestable in the movie. And I was like, well, I think he's like a bad person, but he's very charismatic, right? Like he has this energy, this magnetism.
Yeah. I think the charisma of it all. But you know what? Part of what also turned me off from this movie is the Grindset mindset that has like pervaded our culture. And I feel like this is in many ways, like, I think it's easy to take the wrong lesson for this movie.
Oh, yeah. Geoff, this is in
the
like Wolf of Wall Street, American Psycho Hall of Fame.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's very like the Wolf of Wall Street.
If somebody says this is their favorite movie, potential red flag. Either they have good taste and they interpret it the right way, or they are like a complete fool and you got to stay away, right?
Right. That's exactly how I feel. I just feel like it'd be very easy to misconstrue the lessons here. Like, I think he got extremely lucky.
Marty did, you're saying?
Yes, because at every choice he did a bad thing that hurt other people.
Because he's not concerned about people.
Yeah.
He's only concerned, I mean, there is like a lot of narcissism going on, right? He's only concerned with his own status, his own ambition, his own success, right? Because it is, I think, probably we should mention like what the plot of the movie is. It begins with him basically showing up to a tournament overseas, and he is like a very highly ranked table tennis player. And I think that first kind of tournament sequence is actually pretty exciting and like fun as like a sports drama. Like the ping pong sequences were actually like really exciting and cool. And the special effects, I mean, I'm sure that Timmy like practiced and stuff, but like the special effects of the really fast moving ping pong, I thought were like really impressive and pretty sick, like all things considered.
That part of it reminded me of Challengers, that aspect of Challengers with the tennis balls.
There is some Challengers DNA here. It's not quite as, I guess, sexy as Challengers, right? It's sexy like on a thematic level, but not on like a physical bodies and people level, right? It's not about romance.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, those scenes are fun, and it is like a more conventional sports drama in that sequence, right? And you're kind of expecting him to win, or maybe you're not, right? Because we know this director, we know that this movie is 3 hours long or whatever, and this is ending a little bit too soon. And then of course he loses to a Japanese player. And
Right.
like the rest of the movie is basically him trying to get the money required for him to travel to Japan so that he can participate in a tournament and defeat his like arch nemesis.
Right. And see, another part of the reason that I don't like this is because this feels a little too close to certain figures within the regime and their like tours of retribution. And that's tough.
Really?
I think so.
Well, say more about that.
Because this whole movie centers around a character who is narcissistic. He does not care about the feelings of other people or the misfortune that he brings upon them. He'd be the kind of guy who's like, well, I feel bad about it, but it was just what I had to do. Sorry, guys. Sometimes that happens. He also is like a big talker. He loves to just like proclaim these outlandish things that he can do or is going to achieve and has no plan of doing it. But these people fall into his orbit and believe him because of his charisma. And he ultimately ends up causing like a wake of destruction behind him because he's solely focused on defeating his enemy because he was embarrassed and shamed by it. And that is a little too close to the regime leader for me. I'm like, I don't like this because a lot of the reasons people are drawn into Marty's character are the same qualities that the regime leader has.
Right, but I think that is an intentional parallel.
I know, but I just don't want to see it on screen because I see it enough already.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's just a little bit too close to home for you, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I saw it as like an intentional, again, like commentary on why this draws people in, on it being like a uniquely American phenomenon in a lot of ways, right? Because
Grift to the top.
Right, exactly. Like nothing matters except obtaining that power, obtaining that status, right? And people, morals, even your own identity is just used as ammunition to reach that point.
Totally.
Before we get into the spoiler section, I do want to shout out the score.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like so interesting. I shouted it out on our Oscars episode as being like a highlight of the year, and it wasn't nominated at the Oscars, which I think is a big snub. It is like very not what you would expect. It is like an 80s synth heavy score for a 50 set film, which by the way, the 50s production design in this film also like incredible.
Very good.
It felt grimy all the time, right? Like it was filmed on like actual film, I think.
You felt like the working classness of it.
Yes, it felt very lived in. The production design was insane. And the music, which you think would be kind of like weird and from the wrong decade, actually totally works. And I'm not exactly sure why. I think it's because
I have a theory of this.
There are like cycles of this like idea of American exceptionalism and American boom.
Exactly.
We have the 1950s, the 1980s, which is like what the soundtrack evokes.
Greed is good.
Right. And it feels like watching Rocky or something. It's like, oh, we got this like incredible sports dramatic synthwave score. And then you see Marty doing the most comedic, like insane shit. Right. I mean, to me, that is like the point of the movie. It's like this is the draw and the hollow center of that drive for greatness.
Yep. I completely agree with you. And yeah, I do think it's why it works because the Greed is Good era of the 80s, you know, like we think of the film, like you said, Rocky, we think of American Psycho, we think of, what's that other one? Dun, 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 dun.
Chariots of Fire is the name
Chariots
of the song.
of Fire.
Yeah.
And even like something like Rambo, you think of like that era of films when you hear that music and you are immediately transported to that like mindset of like American exceptionalism. You can achieve anything if you work hard enough, which belies the actual, you know, message of the movie and what we're actually seeing being depicted on screen. But you have that in the back of your head almost subconsciously, I think, when you're listening to the soundtrack of the film.
Yeah. And I will say that you mentioned American Psycho and Rocky. I think Rocky is like a pretty straightforward expression of that philosophy. American Psycho, while it's kind of like, again, one of those red flag films that if somebody, it's like their favorite movie, you're like, I don't know if I trust this person. But when it was made, it was intended as like a satire of that kind of masculinity. And it was made in the 90s. So like that is an important distinction where I think like once we got past those booming 80s, like Reagan era 80s, we had this phase of like 90s kind of ennui, what are we doing as a country type films.
I'm wrong. I guess you're right. It came out in 2000, but it actually was based on a 1991 novel, and I'm sure was made in the late 90s.
Right. And it was definitely intended as like, it was one of those, I mean, I think American Beauty is in this category as well, where it's like oh shit, we beat Russia. What now?
Yes.
Like post-Reagan ennui as a country. Pre-9/11, post-Soviet.
Right.
Yeah. I think that Marty Supreme is more in the lineage of an American Psycho than of a Rocky. And it's intentionally kind of subverting the Rocky narrative.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that like a lot of the subversion comes from what literally happens in the plot of the film. So why don't we get into some spoiler section and we can talk about some of the late-breaking plot points. What's up, y'all? Editor Justin here. If you want to skip spoilers for Marty Supreme, you can go ahead and skip to 1:28:15. Let's get back to the show.
Spoilers abound, F-slurs.
Okay, I know I said late breaking, but actually let's just talk about maybe like the second scene in the film, which was to me a laugh out loud moment. When Marty is in the shoe store and Rachel, played by Odessa Zion, comes in and you learn that they're having like this affair and they're like making out in the back room, and then smash cut to like a scientific sperm approaching the egg scene.
That was so unexpected.
I mean, I laughed. I was like, this is great.
I don't know if I laughed. I don't think I found it funny. I was just like, okay, this is different than what I expected. But why? What did you think was funny about that? I'm curious.
I just thought it was absurd, right?
Oh, okay,
and a different movie maybe would have like drawn out the reveal that Rachel was pregnant. But like this sets out from the very beginning. It's like, this is a
instant
bomb.
Conflict.
Right. This is a bomb that's waiting to go off in Marty's life.
Yep.
And then I think that was actually like a really big spoiler, because Odessa and all of her like promo appearances and in all the trailers, you only saw her face. She never mentioned that she was pregnant. And I think that is like maybe the most conflicted I feel about this film is it being a movie about parenthood. Because as you get towards the end of the film, that comes back and I think is maybe the most important character moment for Marty as a character.
So are you saying that you do or do not think that this movie is about parenthood?
I think the movie is definitely about parenthood. Not like fully, but it touches on it. And my issue with it is its treatment of that as like a plot device.
Okay.
We can get into that when we talk about maybe like the last scene of the film. But first, before we get to that, I did want to mention kind of the final, like the climax of the film, which is when Marty, against all odds, gets on a jet with Kevin O'Leary's character.
Fucking boo.
We'll talk about that, I'm sure. And he gets to Japan.
Right.
And this is the part where I'm like, how do you watch this film and not see it as critical of Marty's journey, right? Because he gets there, and because of everyone he's pissed off from the last tournament, because he like put a hotel room at the most expensive hotel on like the tab of the Ping Pong Association or whatever. The tournament organizer is like, bro, you're not getting into this tournament. You would have had to fucking sign up, you idiot.
Yeah.
And Timmy's like, damn. Like he literally doesn't even get into the tournament that he wanted to win.
And I love that there was like characters in this film who were like giving him a reality check at every turn and being like, you are a nothing burger. You suck. You are not the exception to the rule. The rules exist because of people like you. And I loved those people because I'm like, that's me. That's how I feel. I'm like, fuck this dude. He sucks.
And then the movie culminates in this, like, I simultaneously felt like riveted by and like constantly was thinking about how empty the final ping pong match between him and his Japanese arch nemesis was, right? Because he can't enter the tournament, but he is doing this exhibition match that is essentially like an advertisement for Kevin O'Leary's character's pen company.
Right. Just promo.
It's a meaningless match, right? And the whole point of it is that he's supposed to throw the match intentionally.
Intentionally lose.
Kevin O'Leary's character is trying to sell these pens in Japan. But Marty, because of his own like ego, basically convinces the Japanese player to play a real match against him. And that becomes kind of like the climax of the movie.
Ego death of the ping pong match.
Yeah. Right. And speaking of true mensches and like people who kind of subvert or take Marty's character down a peg, the Japanese ping pong player is like so zen. He's so locked in. That guy's a Chad. Do you know what I mean? Like
yes,
he's the actual goals
hot
in this film. Yeah.
Hot, chill, cool, suave, talentful.
His name is Koto Kawaguchi is the name of the
Mhm.
actor who plays him, and the character's name is Koto Endo. So Endo is the kind of the character as they refer to him in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was like a really fascinating conflict because I was like, what's more interesting here? If Marty loses or if Marty wins? Like I found myself as the match was happening being like, this is really interesting because they're setting this up as the climax. We know it's meaningless,
Right.
but it clearly matters so much to Timmy.
Yeah. I feel like we are supposed to, at this point, the message should be like, oh, wow, this is actually kind of pathetic.
Right.
That something that was supposed to be like just a way for Marty to make a little bit of money so he can get home and like, you know, pay some of his debts has now turned into he no longer is going to get paid because he did not do what he was supposed to do, which is throw the match and just act basically. And now he's been like, I have to defeat this person at all other costs. And you're like, damn, it's really sad to see somebody who's so fragile that their ego has to be stroked and that they're getting rid of all other opportunity to like get on the right path here.
Another moment I laughed out loud is where Timmy is like begging the Japanese audience to let him play this match. He's like trying to get them all riled up.
Yeah.
And I think somebody says like, you're embarrassing yourself. And then Marty just says, I'm beyond embarrassment. Like completely unironically, straight.
Yep.
And that was the funniest moment of the movie for me because the entire movie is like a descent for Marty.
Yeah.
He starts out on top and he's like using what little power and charisma he has to try to grasp onto power to attend this tournament. He's already fallen off the cliff, right? And he's just like grasping for like what little victory he can possibly obtain. And he's even throwing away his own pride for it.
Yeah, 100%. He doesn't think so.
He doesn't think. Do you know what I mean? He's just trying to reach that feeling of having power for a moment.
He's sort of like an addict.
Yes, it is.
He's sort of an addict.
Similar to addiction. Yeah.
He's just like he's constantly chasing the high of feeling victory, feeling superior than. And it's to his detriment. I really think that this film is a cautionary tale.
I would like to talk about that point because I think that I would have been 10 out of 10 in on this film if it were more explicitly a cautionary tale. What worries me is the final scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is like where my whole nitpick about the movie comes in is Marty returns from the tournament.
Yep.
His girlfriend, mistress, whatever, Rachel has had her baby. And the final scene of the film is Marty holding his son, crying, and Everybody Wants to Rule the World starts playing. Great needle drop, sure. Marty wants to rule the world, obviously, and it's kind of like a naive desire. And the question is like, has having a child changed everything for Marty? Or is this child just another projection of his own narcissism? And is he just going to continue being the hustler and the grifter that he has been for the whole film?
Yeah. And where do you stand on that? Because I think you know already where I stand.
Well, I personally think that he's going to continue to be an idiot because, and this is my problem, is that like having a kid doesn't fix your life.
Yeah.
If anything, it amplifies the problems that you already have in your life. What concerns me is that in a lot of interviews, Josh Safdie has talked about how this is like a movie about parenthood. And he had recently just had a child when he was writing this movie and directing this movie.
That's interesting.
He's talked about how it changed everything for him and like everything else seems meaningless. And I've heard a lot of pundits out there who have kids, older people who are a little bit older than us that have kids, talk about how for them that was like a very emotional moment because it reminded them of like when they first had a kid and now suddenly your whole world is this kid and like your youth was just like these silly gestures at power. And now that you have a kid, like you've been changed. And the whole having a child changes your entire worldview thing. I know that it changes your worldview, but I also don't think it fixes you. Do you know what I mean? And that is kind of the interpretation or the read that I have issue with.
Do you think that the movie is trying to say that he's going to be fixed now by having a child? Because I don't think the movie says that at all.
I think the movie is trying to be ambiguous about what Marty does next.
So you would rather have it be Marty's like, yeah, all right, fuck this kid. I'm going back out to the ping pong place to train again. Like you would rather be like, or he's like, I've been changed for good. You're my focus now.
No, I would hate that more than what is there.
So then how do you want it to end if you're not satisfied with this ending? Like what would you have had Safdie do to like make explicitly clear what the meaning of the movie is?
Well, I don't think that, okay, to be clear, I don't want to. I'm not like somebody who is like, oh, if I could rewrite it, this is what I would do different.
Mhm.
Like, and that would be a much better movie.
Oh, girl, I feel that way about Game of Thrones, though. I feel that way about Game of Thrones strongly.
And I am okay with like endings without closure. I think that like actually endings that don't come down on one side or the other are usually more interesting. Actually, what I worry about is that this was intended to be a movie by Josh Safdie that's explicitly about how becoming a parent changes you and changes your worldview. When I feel like it's better being left unsaid what happens after that, right? I think that this is like maybe outside of the movie, right? It's kind of the discourse. And this goes back to like, you know, artist's intention and audience reads, right? Like we talked about Wolf of Wall Street, American Psycho, like how do you separate those things? I think that a lot of the kind of potentially problematic reads of this film could be like, you know, Marty was sowing his oats out there being young, and then he like decided to settle down once he had a kid. And I feel like a lot of people could read it that way.
I think that would be at odds with everything depicted about Marty. And, you know, I think that the Tears for Fears like song Everybody Wants to Rule the World is like the needle drop for the last thing. I mean, that was like a Cold War era song.
Right.
And I think like the point of that song is like pointing out the like constant struggle for like power, global domination, and at the cost of killing people and destroying the world and the environment, right? So I think that's what that song is about. And I kind of think that that's like a reflection of like how Marty has been living his life. He's like so fixated on like being the best and being superior than others that he doesn't realize all the destruction that he's causing. So I feel like that's why it was selected. I feel like ignore what Josh Safdie said about this film being about parenthood, because I don't really think that it is. Unless the takeaway is supposed to be that parents are deeply flawed people.
That's kind of the point that I'm making. Like when I watched the movie, I was pretty all in on it. And I thought, and this is another thing that we didn't even talk about, is that many of the people that we watched with thought that the kid was not Marty's, that it was Ira's kid, who is like Rachel's husband. Which is something that actually I haven't heard a lot of people talk about. But the baby looked a lot like Ira.
I don't really remember.
But that would make like the whole sperm and egg scene at the very beginning be very like manipulative. It would kind of make that scene in bad faith if the baby was Ira's. So I think that the baby is intended to be Marty's. Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm trying to reckon with the authorial intent here, which again seems to be trying to make a point about parenthood. And Marty's performance there is great. Like he's crying. And I think that it is better to be like, is he going to change his ways because he now has this kid and he cares about other people? Or is this just like the latest victory for him in having a kid, right? And he's going to continue to grift and continue to reach for more victory. And I guess I've seen some reads that aligned more with the former. And I've heard interviews with Josh Safdie where he seems to align more with the former. And that's where I'm like, damn, maybe I missed the entire point of this movie and I don't actually like the point that it was trying to make.
That's interesting. You know, I was just reading something real quick here about the movie on Reddit, and somebody, of course, you know, has the theory that the baby is not his because the movie opens with Rachel having food poisoning, allegedly, but they're saying, what if she was already pregnant?
Right.
And just experiencing, you know, the early trimester nausea that a lot of folks deal with. And then at the end of the movie, there's a line which I did not remember. And, you know, this is on Reddit, so this could be made up. But the guy says that there's like a line at the end of the movie about Marty being stressed that she's like 4 weeks early with the baby.
I think this is a little bit of a Reddit tin hat theory, because I think that having that scene at the beginning with the sperm and egg would be very misleading if the baby was intended to not be his. And also, like, I don't think it matters whether or not it's his. Maybe for him at least, it doesn't matter. Right.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I feel like, you know, Marty won his thing at the end of the film, right? You know, with his battle with Endo. But it's like he got what he wanted. And then he comes back and is like, okay, now I have this wake of destruction that I have to atone for, basically. Or like, if not atone for, he still has to deal with it.
I didn't get the vibe that he was like, I need to atone for stuff. It's like he was coming back and claiming his spoils, his son. Like, that's the way that I interpreted it more so than him having to atone for anything.
But it's fascinating because now there's like so many dynamics that this character has to deal with.
Right.
He still owes money to the dog guy.
That's so crazy.
That was such an insane
Didn't even get into that whole
side
thing.
plot.
Yeah.
Well, okay, this movie also felt like it could have been like several like mini-sodes or something. Like it could have been like a very short, like limited series, like maybe
there's like a
4
series of
episodes.
hijinks. Yeah, there's like the initial tournament, and then there's like the hustle with Tyler, and then there's like the dog situation, and then there is the Gwyneth situation, the party, right? When
Right.
he tries, yes, and the necklace. Yeah, there's like a bunch of little, yeah, like you said, like vignettes almost
Yeah, vignette is a perfect
of
word for them.
different grifts that Marty tries to pull off to get to
Right.
Japan.
The ending scene, now that we're in the spoiler territory, with like the crying babies in the background too, that just like keeps going until the credits are rolling. That I had to leave. I had to get out of the theater as soon as it was done. The wailing babies in the background, like a chorus of wailing babies underneath "Everybody Wants to Rule the World" was like a lot of stimulus, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I need to leave immediately. It really succeeded in making me feel extraordinarily anxious about it.
I'm anxious in the idea of Marty being a father. Do you know what I mean? That gives me anxiety.
That kid gonna be fucked up, and that's tough.
Overall, I thought it was like a great film. Honestly, like one of my favorites of the year. It was like anxiety inducing, but sometimes I'm more into like adrenaline chasing films like that, even though I know that you're not so much into that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Are you a theme park person when you were younger?
Oh yeah, I still am. Love a roller coaster. What's that ride where it just brings you up and then just drops you?
Oh no, absolutely
Love
not.
that.
But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The Six Flag.
I'm a bit of a thrill seeker myself.
I couldn't possibly do that and enjoy
This
it.
may be like the farthest apart on any spectrum that we are, is like
I think
that.
So.
That characteristic.
I do think so. I really hate it a lot.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You just like gave me a shiver right up my asshole because I was just thinking about the feeling of like having nothing underneath me and rushing towards the ground from like the thing that drops you, the elevator type ride.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hate that feeling. I did it one time. Nearly shirt my parents.
Have you ever done the bungee jumping ride where you're just like on a bungee cord?
Absolutely not. Why the fuck do you think I would do that?
Just asking.
I don't need to fly in that way. If I had wings, maybe. But I'm not going to be doing the whoo and then the back and forth. Absolutely not. You know, it's one of those situations where like it feels like time is passing slowly when that happens. It would probably be over quickly, but in the moment, I think I would be like, this has been going on for years, and I'm going to die this way now. I don't like that.
Well, Geoff, this has been a great convo about Marty Supreme. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap up this segment?
I want to say I think that Fran Drescher was underused in this film.
Yeah.
I don't think she had a lot to do, and I would have liked to see her do a little bit more. Odessa Zion was great in the movie. Great actor.
Yes, and she had her own little grifting subplot in there, which I thought
she's also a grifter.
Fleshed out her character. She was great. I actually think we didn't talk about this in the Oscar episode, but I think she could have been nominated for Best Supporting Actress. There was a pretty stacked category this year, but she was pretty great.
I would say she was definitely like in the top 10 of the year for me, of Best Supporting Actress rather. Well, Marty Supreme, the Safdie brothers do it again. Another anxiety-inducing film that I did not enjoy.
Yeah, and I'll just close this segment by saying I'm a vampire. I was born in 1601, and I know guys like you, Geoff.
Wait, what is this from? Was that Kevin O'Leary?
Yes, this is from
I thought so.
The Match in Japan. When Kevin O'Leary said that, I was like, is this about to really take a crazy turn? Like, is this going to turn into a vampire movie?
I was like, this is like Sinners all over again.
That might have been the moment where I was like, I think I'm really into this movie. I was like, this is so fucking weird.
It was very weird. Oh, by the way, I do want to say, last thing I'll say, Kevin O'Leary, get him off my screen. He's a terrible person. He's cruel, like in real life, not just this character.
Yes.
He's cruel. He is like a billionaire. He's not a good actor. He is not pleasing to look at. And he's like a true shark. Like the Shark Tank was aptly named with Kevin O'Leary in there because he tries to take advantage of these young entrepreneurs who, or not even just young, but inexperienced entrepreneurs who are looking for not a hand out, but like a hand up, like a leg up in the business. And he does everything he can to like just grift on these people. And so many times the other like entrepreneurs that are on the Shark Tank panel, I don't know if you ever watched Shark Tank.
I've only seen like clips. I'm not really a big fan.
I used to like watching it a lot when I had cable, but they will often be like, do not take this deal with him. This is predatory. Like, they will just call him out and say shit like that. And he's like, no one else is offering you a deal and you need this capital. You should take it. That would be stupid not to. But he'll do like shady things where he's like, oh, I'm just going to use round numbers that are small and wouldn't make sense business wise. But he'll be like, I will give you $10 for your capital investment for 40% of your company. And also, you have to pay me back all that money. So the first dollar you make on every product you sell will go back to your debt. And then I'm also going to take a percentage on top of all future sales. Nobody in the Shark Tank is offering that kind of thing because most of these people are rich as fuck already. And like, do they want to make more money? Yes. Do I have a problem with that? Sure. Like, you know, philosophically, I do. But it's like these people are also, I do think most of them are genuinely trying to be helpful and also be like mentors for the people. And, you know, they're like, I'm very rich and very successful, so my time to mentor you is worth something. So I want part of the company for that. But he's just awful. I hate him.
I mean, it's a very interesting microcosm of the discourse around Marty Supreme as a whole, because I do think that like the whole depiction versus endorsement thing is like,
right.
Does casting Kevin O'Leary as like the villain of the movie and a horrendous person, a terrible character, like is casting a real life horrible person in the role as this horrible character, like does that cross the boundary into like being icky for you? I'm not asking you, I'm just saying like,
yeah, but you know it does for me.
This is the question that I think has been driving the discourse around Marty Supreme, because it depicts all of this horrible behavior on Marty's part, but it's obvious to me it's not endorsing that behavior, right? It's depicting the hollowness of that mindset, that lifestyle. The Kevin O'Leary conversation, I think, is a big part of that. I am in the camp where I'm like, I regret to inform everybody that he was actually pretty good in this movie. Do I like him as a person? No, he's a piece of shit, obviously. But like, you can't deny that he is like the vampire that he portrays in the movie. You know what I mean?
I mean, but to me, it's like he's not really acting. He's just being himself. That's really how he is.
Yeah, and sometimes
so for me, and I'm like, you know what? I'm also annoyed that I'm sure he got paid for this because he didn't have like a small role really. It was definitely a supporting role. It wasn't even just like a guest thing.
He was like on the billing. He was the main villain.
Right. That's what I mean. So I have an issue with that because I'm sure he got paid and he does not need any more money and he is a bad person. And I'm sure that there are plenty of other actors who could have done exactly what he did. And there's even many who would have been better than he was in this role. So I have an issue with him being cast in it. I take umbrage with this safety decision.
I mean, like, do we care about, like, there's all kinds of, like, Gwyneth Paltrow's another person cast in this film who's extremely rich, extremely wealthy, and has her own, you know, political baggage that she carries with her.
But at least she's, like, an actor. At least she's an actor.
So for you, it's that he's not a professional actor and they still cast him in this role and he's a bad person. It's like the combination of all of those things.
Yes. For me, it's all the above.
Because I was going to say, there's a lot of actors that have problematic political views that have been cast in good movies. You know what I mean? Oh,
sure. Damn. But I mean, like, he's also like a fan of the regime, I will say.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I said, we got Sydney Sweeney out here in a million films this year.
Who?
You know what I mean? We got we got all kinds of actors who are not necessarily on our side politically. You know what I mean?
I don't want to see her on anything. I'm not watching Euphoria, I think, now because she's like, it's so prominently featured. I might watch and just like skip the scenes that she's in.
They collect the data on it.
I'm serious. They collect the data. They'll see where people pause and rewind. I'm going to rewind on every scene that Laurie is in.
Well, Geoff, let's pause and rewind back to our future selves, and we'll be right back.
Okay. And we're back.
We're back, Geoff. That's okay.
I'm just so eager to talk about our what's goods. I couldn't wait for you to introduce.
I know, and I don't even remember what our conversation about Marty Supreme was. I hope it was good. I hope the listeners enjoyed it.
Justin, I think that we did discuss some things.
I know we definitely discussed some stuff.
I know we talked. I just can't remember what about. But I'm sure it was lovely. But Justin, I think there's some even more lovely things that we should discuss.
That's right.
I would like for you to now tell me, as we do at the end of every pod, what's good with you this week?
Well, Geoff, as I referenced on our episode last week, just after we recorded our Wuthering Heights episode, I went to the theater and I saw the film Pillion, which is a new A24 film directed and written by Harry Leighton and starring Harry Melling, who is probably best known for portraying Dudley in the Harry Potter films.
Of course.
And well-known himbo. Himbo is a little bit insulting, I guess, but hot man Alexander Skarsgård.
Yes. That I think is more appropriate.
And this movie has been marketed as a dom-com. So it is like a comedic romantic film about this guy who's kind of like a timid, like very introverted
insecure
man. I guess you could say insecure. Not really. Like he's putting himself out there. He's like a part of a barbershop quartet with his family, but he's like in his mid-30s. He's still living with his parents. His job is like a parking inspector. So it's a little bit of a, it's a tough job. People are yelling at you a lot, and he doesn't necessarily have the confidence to respond to those people.
Got it.
And he meets this man portrayed by Alexander Skarsgård, who is a part of like the biker community where both of these characters live. And he quickly becomes involved with him sexually, romantically, I would say, over time, and becomes a part of this biker community. And he learns about kind of the dynamics of the biker community, including, sub-dom dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
And he learns a lot about himself in the process. So this is like a really fascinating movie to talk about in comparison with Wuthering Heights, because Wuthering Heights does portray a lot of like sub-dom dynamics. And I think like alludes to some of those dynamics in terms of like the thematic stuff that it puts across in terms of like taboo things and what's normative and what's not normative in our social hierarchy, but it doesn't really unpack those things.
Yeah.
I feel like Pillion does a much better job of talking about not necessarily why we're attracted to these types of things, but how it can often be difficult to balance our attraction with our lives. And this is kind of embodied in the film by Harry Melling plays Colin.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of the timid guy that meets Alexander Skarsgård's character, Ray. And Colin still lives with his parents, and his parents are very supportive. They know that he's gay. He's not closeted.
Yeah.
But as soon as he starts dating Ray, he shaves his head. So has a buzz cut. He starts wearing like a chain with a lock on it around his neck.
Oh, yeah. They love that.
And as soon as there's like some of this non-normative behavior that Colin's doing, like as soon as he's not going on dates with guys that say like Free Britney on their t-shirt, they're like, I actually don't know if I like this kind of gay. And like that is the tension.
It's given no kink at Pride.
Exactly. That's exactly right, Geoff. And I think that this movie has like a really nuanced take on that, because there's a balance between like it is true that like there is a lot of things that are considered normative that, if you go outside of them, it's like a sense of freedom. And this movie knows that Colin's parents care about him a lot. And it also knows that Colin is finding a lot of himself and had been feeling more free than he ever has before by participating in this subculture.
Yeah.
It's not so much saying like, oh, the parents were right, like Ray was a piece of shit the whole time. It's more about
spoiler alert.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that that's not what the parents are saying. You can imagine a much shallower, worse movie where the parents are like, damn, Ray's a piece of shit. And Colin's like, no, he's not. I like all this S&M stuff. And then it turns out like Ray, the Dom, is a piece of shit. And then he's like, yeah, you're right. All this S&M stuff was bad. And now I'm going back to being a normal guy. And that's not what happens. That's not what happens in this movie. It's a much more nuanced take on all of these things. And it's much more about Colin kind of finding himself and finding his voice and knowing what he wants and expressing that. I found it like much more nuanced than Wuthering Heights, and also just like very heartwarming. It's in a lot of ways like a very traditional rom-com in a way that I don't think we see a lot of gay romances kind of taking the tropes and the general like emotional connection of a rom-com to this extent, right? In some ways it is like very trad in that way, even though it's about this like very kinky S&M relationship.
It's interesting because when I was watching the latest trailer for it, when I went to see the Charlie XCX movie, The Moment, they had a second trailer of the film that I hadn't seen yet playing, and I kind of thought that there was like a whole meet the parents at dinner or lunch
There's a
scene, and
great dinner scene, an
I was
incredible
like,
dinner
this
scene.
is so interesting. I was like, because they are setting this up like a traditional rom-com, but the tone of the movie and the subject matter belies that format. So this is interesting.
Yeah.
I'm very fascinated to see this movie for myself.
Yeah, I think you're going to love it. I think that the characters in the film are very deep. I think Harry Melling is like a revelation, actually. Like, there's a lot of face acting. There's a lot of sex, to be blunt about it. Like, and I think that a lot of the sex scenes are actually like very rich in terms of like the characters and the themes. It's also another interesting comparison point is Heated Rivalry, because we talked about that show. That show also has a lot of sex, but as we discussed when we talked about that show, it's very much like a fantasy. I think that a lot of the sex here is like much more realistic and there's a lot more friction going on, both literally and figuratively, in the sex that happens in this movie. And it's much more of like a give and take, and Colin is still figuring out what he likes and what he doesn't like. So it's like very much it's just a very nuanced film and feels very like specific, which I love in a film.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was a surprise because I had heard a lot of good things about the movie when I went in, but it was a great film, and I think everybody should go out and watch it. When I saw 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, there was a preview screening of this film, and I'm not sure if they advertised specifically to like the leather and biker community, but the only people that were there to see the preview were people that were like in biker and leather attire.
Oh, interesting.
Which I think is pretty cool that they would reach out to that community to show the film, because it is very sympathetic. Yeah. It's not critical at all of that subculture, I think. I think it's critical of specific characters in the film that may be a part of that subculture. But I think that it does a great job of showing that having the confidence to push back not just on the aspects of the biker subculture that Colin doesn't like, but also the normative world that he lives in is like a real form of like self-discovery for Colin. And that's what I think is like what makes it so interesting.
Well, I can't wait to see it. And what does the name Pillion mean? Is it a spoiler?
I don't think it is.
Okay.
So we've talked about how Pillion takes place. A lot of the characters are a part of a biker subculture. I think that the Pillion is like the secondary seat behind the main seat on the bike.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So, you know, a big part of this culture is you bike around with your partner. And part of this self-discovery journey for Colin is knowing that he wants to be on the Pillion, you know?
Got it. Yep. He likes to take a back seat. Passenger.
Also, like, just gorgeous imagery in this movie. There's a lot of these like slow motion shots of, you know, Alexander Skarsgård and Harry Melling on the bike with like the lights, the street lights, like it's slowly going past them. It almost feels like a diorama that really gets across like the romance of that.
And this takes place in the UK. Where in the UK?
That's right. I think it's like London and the suburbs of London, I believe.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm very much looking forward to that one.
Well, Geoff, I'm looking forward to hearing about what your What's Good is this week. So, Geoff, what's been good with you this week?
Well, Justin, I want to talk to you about a phenomenon that I have recently taken part of and absolutely adore. It is called a Friends Admin Night. Have you heard about this?
I think I have. This is kind of
what
like...
What is this disappointed exhale that you were doing?
Do you want me to actually say what I think about it before you describe it?
Okay. The floor is yours, dear.
So I could be wrong about this. I've only heard about it on social media, so I could be wrong. But my understanding is, you know, we all have these kind of like administrative tasks that we put off because we're I mean, I can speak for myself. I'm a procrastinator. I hate doing things like, I don't know, filing taxes, like going through my bank and being like, I need to cancel that subscription or like whatever, right? Like whatever, name your administrative task.
Exactly, Justin. And wouldn't it be more bearable if you had a group of people around you who are like, I got a bunch of stupid shit we got to slog through too. Let's do it together. We got an hour and a half. Let's make it happen.
I mean, it is better than doing it by yourself, right. But it is also sad that this is a social event.
Justin, you're always talking about finding joy.
And you're finding joy in the paperwork. So that's okay. That's cool.
I'm trying to find joy in the paperwork. I'm trying to make life less shitty. Okay. You know?
Well, tell me about how you did so.
Existing and living is tough. And there's just like, there's so many things that I have to do. and I don't wanna.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do I have to tell the government how much I paid them? You should already know. Like, it's crazy. I mean, like, I can't even get started on like the whole like tax cottage
That's a whole other
industry.
podcast episode. Yeah.
I can't get started on it, but it's just crazy. Everything in America has become a hostile situation. All the administrative tasks you have to do, renewing your car registration, renewing
Right.
your car insurance, renewing your whatever the fuck, managing magazine subscriptions. Everything's a subscription. I had so many things I needed to do that I had been procrastinating. So has Anna. We were like, let's have an admin night.
How did I know it was you and Anna?
We had a couple of drinks and we sat with our laptops and we just co-worked for like an hour and a half, chatted about our days, joked about how miserable living is and how much it sucks to just like be an adult.
Sounds wonderful.
And then we finished that shit and then we just like sat crooked and talked straight for like an hour and a half. It was great.
Is that a
Had a
thing
great
people say?
time.
Sat crooked, talk straight? Is that a known
It's from
phrase?
My Favorite Murder.
Oh, okay.
I used to love listening to podcasts.
That's surprising.
Is it?
I mean, I know that you love, stay sexy, don't get murdered as like a tagline, but lots of The Killer.
Listen, The Killer's everywhere and nothing confirmed that more than My Favorite Murder. Wendy Williams was really onto a lot of things.
In hindsight, perhaps this actually answers a lot of my questions.
Well, my people are telling me I have to go. So thank you for having me. It's been a good one.
I'm glad you enjoyed your admin night and talking about how horrible existence is. That sounds wonderful.
It made, well, here's what was good about it. I had a finite period of time in which it was like, this is what we're focusing on and doing right now. Get these stupid tasks that are really not difficult. They're just a pain done.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were done and I felt so much better. So in a way it was like gratifying.
It reminds me of going to the library to study. So you have like peer pressure to do it.
Here's the thing about that. Sometimes you get too many friends and friendly, acquaintances around you. And then it's like, we're not doing any work. We're just chitty chatting. And when one person starts to get annoyed with me for talking too much, I'll just float on over to the other side of the table and talk to these people and distract them for a little bit, This
is a level of procrastination I haven't had in years.
Yeah.
But it worked for you and Anna. So 2 people seems like a good number.
2 people was great.
It's like 1 is the loneliest number. What's 2? 2's company? 3's company?
2's company, 3's a party.
3's a party. Okay. And with that, Geoff, this has been a great episode of Bants. Love talking about taxes. Love talking about Marty Supreme. Love talking about the Olympics.
You loved misgendering people.
That didn't happen, actually. We fact-checked that. And Geoff, we will be back next week to talk about A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the television show.
Oh my god, I can't wait to discuss.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Got a lot of things to say.
Got a lot of thoughts and ideas about that show.
A lot of words will come out of our mouths.
Until then.
Bye. This has been Bants with Geoff and Justin. Bants is created and produced by... Excuse me? You wrote Poop Taylor? You are so rude.
I was trying to see if the old Ron Burgundy would work on you.
This has been Bants with Geoff and Justin. Bants is created and produced by Poop Taylor and Justin Benavides. Hey! Graphic design by Geoff Taylor. Editing by Justin Benavides. The theme music for Bants is the track Nebraska With You by Sam Day. And it's provided by No Copyright Sound. Email us at bantspod@gmail.com with any questions, recommendations, or just to say hi. And if you like the podcast, rate and review us on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. And tell your friends. Bye.
Bye.
I'm just ordering my Thai food.
Oh, congratulations on that.
Oh, for Christ's sake. Got me doing all kinds of crazy things here. Before, okay, my address, yada yada. Tip 20%. Try 18.
That's the clip. Geoff tips poorly.
Listen, this is getting crazy, Justin. For counter service, for pickup, like they're not doing anything.
That's just easy dunk bait. I'm not going to put that in. Don't worry.
You actually should. I think it would be funny.